before the turn started, Austria, that is Ragnar, Thomas is playing Britain, and Andy is playing France, and they're all real good players. He was deciding whether him and Prussia should just declare war on France, because if the French tried to declare war after some minor country takeover, then he would be able to attack Austria without the Prussians for a turn, and then force, so Ragnar was thinking about attacking so they can both attack the French at the same time where Napoleon was up in the north. But he decided not to. So when the Austrians declared war on Bavaria, when you went to the control step, the French gained control and then declared war on Austria. So it happened just the way Ragnar thought. The French player told Ragnar that he had no declarations of war, which in Andy's case he didn't. In the declaration of war phase, he didn't declare war. Ragnar took it as there wouldn't be any war. And so now Ragnar does not trust, the Austrian player does not trust the French. He doesn't trust. By the end of this turn, you'll see, especially when I stood up my feudal corps at the end and they're standing by his border, he doesn't understand why we're doing any of this to him and doesn't trust any of us. So we got 3 turns done. And on the first turn, it looked like the French made some good maneuvers and they cut into Linz, wiping out a Austrian corps, 15 men to his 3. Then the next turn, the forces here were all stacked here. That's where they started. Some of them. The Prussians moved in and they united right there. The French turn came and I don't remember him doing anything. He didn't maneuver much. He kept Napoleon there. Why this force, he didn't even move out to Vienna, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if he was threatened by this this one corps they had down here. Not sure why. He just made some shifts, and he sat there. On the third turn, the Prussians and the Austrians took those 12 corps by detaching, absorbing, and moved into Hanover. And a big battle was fought. There was 152 Austrian and Prussians against 50 French. The French outpicked them in the chit, defending at outflank. The Austrians and Prussians picked escalated assault. But the first roll went in the Austrians' favor, and the French lost something like 23 men. And the Austrians only lost 3. The second rolls, they were both high, like a 5 and a 6 for both of them. And the Austrians committed their grenadier because they figured they had a best chance of breaking the French because of they almost put a 2 morale hit on them on the first round. So, the first battle round. So they committed the grenadier, and good thing they did, because with that they broke the French, but the French also rolling good broke the Austrians and Prussians. And so they both had to retreat. The French didn't. The Austrians and Prussians had to retreat back to Magdeburg here. And the total losses were the French lost 44 infantry, and the Austrians and Prussians lost, I think, 15. And then the French turn went, and he backed up. That's where Napoleon is now. He tried to take Mantua there, failed the siege on Berlin, on Vienna, failed the siege on Berlin. So he didn't get none of those, so they were able to go in the economic phase. And the Austrians and the Prussians saved all their money, basically, because I guess they're not going to worry about their capitals. They're going to let them fall, and they're going to keep going after the French. So that's where that sits. The Russians did go over and get Sweden from the British. The British backed down. They were fighting the French there. And The Spanish took Portugal, or won the siege, but they didn't go in and occupy the capital yet because they made a deal with the English, because the English still wanted to use the Portuguese fleet. So, and I took Tunisia. I did invaded that, got it, and I'm laying siege to Cairo here still. That's where I'm at. So the big question here is starting is, as I'm not allied with any big power. I mean, I'm allied with Spain, and that's it. So my question is, the French players kind of asking for help now. And, I don't mind seeing the French get beat up. And I guess my question is, or what I'm trying to decide here, is if the French get an unconditional surrender, they can bounce back from that. But then the Austrians and the Prussians, what are they going to do? And they're going to collect victory points. The English will. I mean, the English, Austrian, Prussians are the big winners here. And Russia's, sitting out. I'm sitting out. I mean, I don't know if the English is just going to leave us alone, if the Austrians or Prussians are going to leave me alone. I don't know what's going on. So I'm trying to decide if I want France to go down unconditionally or not, or should I jump in the war and start trying to take these territories back here. I'm not sure if I should do that. That's where I'm kind of struggling here. I haven't been deep into this game at all, so I don't know how well the French can recover. And of course, when I talk to the British player, he tells me, that the Austrians and the Prussians will just sit back, get ready for the next war, and they won't do anything. So that's what I'm thinking about here. I think the Spanish are starting to talk about going into Italy. And I've been talking to the Russians. So me and the Russians are trying to decide what to do. If I lose a big ally over here with France, I'm making my my neighbor Russia as to be my big brother then. So we're getting on good terms here. I might use him. We might fight from the back. I don't know. England has offered me some good stuff. England's a smart player. And yeah, he's going to offer me stuff, but he can jump on me anytime he wants. So if I start getting too far ahead, he'll just attack me and start doing stuff to me. And, that's what I don't like about England. So with France, I'm more of my own owner. And if I can get Russia to help protect me, I might be able to fight off England. So that's my thinking. We'll see. Anyways, that's the 3 turns. We will come back. We'll be starting April. Another 2 turns. So we are in 1805. We're going to be starting June. And man, really loving the diplomacy here with the good players and what they're doing, and really making the game more exciting. Because the French lost the battle of Hanover. Since then, the French backed up, and in 2 turns, the Austrians and the Prussians went from here to here. They have conquered Hanover, Holland, Cleves, and they occupy Brussels. So it hasn't been conquered yet. I spent all day in between these turns talking to the French, the Russians, the Spanish, and the British, and trying to decide what happens in the long term. Because remember that me as a new player, and there's 3 people who as new players haven't been long term, and the word is that the French can lose the war, go down, lose 3 territories, and still be able to build up their army in what, 2 years or even 3 years, possibly build up their armies. The Austrians will be built, and then they go for another war. Now, to me, I understand that, but it looks like what that's doing is giving the Austrians, the Prussians, and the British the chance to win the game, obviously. If you're going to keep the French down and going to keep fighting with them, that's what you want to keep the French down. At the same time, the French needs to keep fighting, but they need to keep winning is the problem with the French, which is the problem what's happening here. They're not winning a lot of battles. So then it becomes an issue. And that is to me what I'm not liking. I want to see Austria, Prussia, and the French beat each other up. And even if the French win the war, see, I don't care. To me, I don't care if Austria and Prussia have to surrender. The French aren't going to hurt me. If they get beat up enough, they're not collecting all the points they should be getting every turn. They haven't been doing it. And then the other problem is the British. So the British are benefiting from the French getting beat up. Now, again, this is just the way I see it. And I haven't been in a lot of games here, obviously. So, the Spanish, the Turks, and the Russians, we decided to form an alliance. Now, I already had an alliance with Spain. We added Russia. So, it's us three now. And we were going to get ready to attack Austria and Prussia if the war started going real bad for France. And in preparation of that, we were preparing ourselves against the English. So 2 Russian corps have come over to Constantinople, which will relieve me of my corps to go fight. And my fleets will be there and be protected from the British. The Spanish fleets and the Russian fleet, they have 20 ships down here, and the Spanish fleet and my ships, we can all go in a stack together to confront a British Navy that tries to come down here. Now, as of yet, there's no British Navy in the Mediterranean, and me and the Spanish love that. But we have that ready to go if the British try to come down in the Med. Now, since we allied, we protected ourselves against a British declaration of war. For example, if we declare war on the Prussians and Austrians, and they call the British in, the British would have to declare war on, they can choose one, they can work it out where the British can choose to attack, or, let's put it this way, the Austrians do not have to call the British, and then the British join the war and they declare war on any one of us. It could be the Spanish, the Turks, or the Russians. And we're thinking he probably won't do it to the Spanish. If the British declare war on Russia, the same thing happens. If we need to, the Russians can call us to fight. Now, Russia, we protected the Russian fleet in St. Petersburg with a corps, and he's got a garrison. So the British won't be able to touch that fleet. Now, the only thing they can do right now, they have 3 corps here and 2 fleets. They can bring 2 corps basically somewhere in this area, and we don't see that as a great concern to the Russians. The British won't be able to travel too far inland. We only see the danger spot at St. Petersburg, and that is protected. So the Russians aren't fearing that. So the only other choice the British would have would be to attack the Turks. And as I've already stated, I have Constantinople protected. I mean, he can start coming down here, but me and the Spanish have an ally. If the British try to come down here in the Med with their army and their ships, the Turks and the Spanish are going to join together. Probably even get the Russians. I mean, that's just what we need down here against the British. So we're protecting ourselves against the British. We don't want the British to get strong. And we don't want the Austrians and Prussians. That Austrian-Prussian-British coalition, none of us, the Spanish, the Turks, and the Russians, do not like it. We don't want France to be conquered for 2 years while these guys sit here and build up their armies and take minor neutrals in here, or even Italy. I mean, I think the Austrians and the Spanish would make an agreement here, but still, there's a lot of territories here. The Prussians and the Austrians would be strong. Without the British to worry about the French, if the French got to surrender, they don't need to worry about their fleets. British fleets are going to be traveling around. See, I don't want none of that. So, we're not going to let the French fall. So, that's my case for that. I don't mind them getting beat up either. So, It's just somehow we got to figure out how to beat up the British a little bit. I'm not sure how to do that yet. The only possible way I can think of having the British get beat up a little bit is to have the French do it and be strong. Well, so that's our case for especially me, Turkey, attacking Austria here soon. And depending how the next battle goes. The first battle, the French lost big. I don't think they're going to fight yet. The French will have more men coming on board. They do have strong corps still down here. They're gobbling up Austrian territory. They have Vienna. They have Illyria. They have Tyrol. They have Venetia. They have West Galicia. They have Bohemia, and they're working on Moravia. Now, I know what the French wants. He's trying to gobble up every territory. He wants me to attack and gobble up the territory. It'd be one. It'd be two. It'd be these two, it looks like. He probably wants me to get. And then when the Austrians' entire minor, provinces are taken, he'd be eliminated from the game. We use the optional roll. He just surrenders. So that's what the French want me to do, which I don't mind, but, I think the French needs to hold his own here a little bit more. That's all. We'll see how it goes. So I'll probably going to attack the Austrians if I have to right after the June turn, because here's my next problem. As Turkey, I don't have Egypt yet. It's taken me it's taken me a long time. It's 5 turns. I still don't have it. And why I'm taking that, I do have Tunisia. I did just get Tripoli, and I'm going to go after Cyrenaica. So I will have these, but when this falls, I lost. I can't get the siege there. If I declare war on Austria, I have a chance of going in the instability zone, and I don't want that for now. Plus, I'm trying to get as many points as we have, and I get 6 victory points. We're going to start June. If we end June, I can have 6 victory points. I don't want to go down to 5. So I'll probably declare war after that. So that's the way our game looks right now. It's going pretty good. We've had some fleet battles. So far, the Dutch fleet is gone, the Danish fleet is gone, and the Swedish fleet is gone, and the Portuguese fleet. All those fleets are off the board. England made sure of it, because he sees us building a ship coalition against them. The Spanish bought 2, I bought 1. The first economic phase 2, 1. The Russians bought 1 or 2. I think the French bought 2, and the English didn't like that. So he's going to try to eliminate all the ships he can. So after all the miners are eliminated, we have Russia, Turkey, Spanish, and the French against them. And at some point in this game, we're going to have to go and get in some naval battles if we can.